So today we are talking about the topic of cultivating resilient leaders, retaining and empowering your leadership team. And when I refer to leaders, it's not just people in upper management. These can be scrum masters, they can be tech leads, people leading other people within your organization or circles, depending on what your organizational structure is. Very often, companies struggle in keeping their leadership teams happy. And because of this, leaders end up leaving the company. But also, it's a known statistic that when somebody chooses to leave a company, very often it is because of their manager or the person which is leading them. It wasn't enriching, it didn't empower them to work with this particular person. Most people don't leave organizations because of the organization itself, but because of that leader which is leading them. So very often what happens, especially in the world of tech, you end up having topic experts. So let's say you were an excellent engineer, maybe a great designer, or a wonderful somebody that helped lead some parts of the product, maybe UX, UI, or working in some other topic which you excelled in. Very often, topic experts are ambitious, they have a lot of energy, and they've been succeeding for some time in their career. And because of this, they are recognized. They're recognized by the leadership team. And one of the questions which the leadership asks you in your career progression is, would you like to progress in your leadership journey? Would you like to become a leader, maybe step up into a scrum master role, step up into something which is a little bit more moving in, let's say, upper management direction? And this can be a hard choice for a lot of engineers. I know the first time that I was asked this, I was in my late 20s. Now I'm in my late 40s, so it's quite some time ago. And I was asked to be the head of software engineering. And I was a software engineer by that point, maybe about 10 years. And for me, I really hesitated to take on this role. I didn't feel really comfortable with it, not because I didn't think I could hack it, but it's because I loved engineering and what I was doing. And what does that mean if I become a leader? Does that mean I won't be able to write code anymore, or to be able to contribute to the code base? Well, I ended up getting convinced to take on this role, and it was a big fail. I was awful at it. One of the reasons I was awful at it was because I struggled to let go of where I was the content expert before. I still wrote code. I still designed the architecture of the system. And on top of that, I was trying to empower the engineers that were in the team. However, I discovered empowerment meant sometimes stepping away from having opinions about how things are done. And that was quite a journey for me to be able to shift from being that topic expert to being the person that empowers topic experts to do what they do best. So this first element, which I'm covering, is really this. The evolution of leaders from calibration to leadership is quite a journey. If you have any questions around this topic and you want to dig into this particular area deeper, please add a question to Slido, and at the end we can dig into it. The next thing that is usually something which leaders of leaders can keep in mind. It's very hard to create your own leadership style. Often when we are asked to become leaders, we have our previous leaders as our example. This is the leadership that we saw. Maybe we had a leader that was quite charming, very good at talking with lots of people, or somebody that was a visionary in their leadership style, or someone more directive as a leader in our past. And the way that we model the way that we act in the future is on what we see them do or what we saw them do. So we think, well, my previous leader was very good at commanding and making sure people got what they needed done. So I'm going to try to step into this and also try to command. However, it may not resonate with the person that you are. So this part of the journey is really about figuring out who you are as an individual. There are many different kinds of leaders. You have leaders which are more prone to help others or mediate situations. You also have the challengers, which are great to have in situations where you need to have some bravity. Myself, I'm a reformer. So I'm the person that you bring in when you want a transformation, when you want something to change and improve. We all have our particular leadership style in which we sit in and can bring the most power. And you may think you can just take a simple quiz and be like, this is my leadership style, this is how I can do it. But it takes a bit to dig into yourself and figure out who you actually are. For example, I'm a reformer. However, I'm also like to help people. I help people all the time. So if I would take a look at, for example, the Enneagram here, it's one of the models, and looking at what type of leader you are, I may think, oh, well, I also sometimes achieve things. I also help people. I may choose the wrong style, the one that actually doesn't resonate with me. Once you figure out what kind of leader you are, it's all about leveling up. So going from, let's say, a more unhealthy state that you can be as a leader of that style. For example, a reformer. In our most unhealthy state, we are a perfectionist and we're quite judgy. However, when we level up, we inspire many people to make great changes in their lives. So it's about figuring out how you can bring the best out of your personality type or the type of leader you are. There's this example here of different ways that different types can level up or level down. For example, I was talking about me being a type 1. This means that I am a reformer. When I am leveled down and not doing great as a, let's say, leader yet, I may become quite obsessive or intolerant of others. I'm a perfectionist and quite rigid. However, when I learn how to embrace my power and step up, I become more reasonable. I'm very objective. I'm tolerant of different ways of doing things, and I can transform and help bring the places that I'm at to a better way of working. So that is what I wanted to say around crafting your unique leadership style. It's very important to give the space to your leaders to find their style, and not only find their style, allow them to embrace it. If you're a leader that coaches, there's nothing worse than having your leader tell you that you're just doing that small coaching thing. When are you going to step up and be a leader? And what they're saying is, when are you going to become a leader like me? If you want to empower your leaders, it's about empowering them to become the leader that they are meant to be. If you have any questions about this topic, please add your questions to Slido and we can dig into it deeper at the end of this. Topic 3. If you want to truly empower the leaders in your team, you need to let go of telling them how to do it. It's the same as telling them what kind of leader to be, but it's a little bit broader. You may have a way in which you did things. Maybe you had a way of organizing your teams. Maybe you had this ideal way of doing one-on-ones with the people in your teams. Perhaps you organize projects using a particular methodology, or you had some kind of way of organizing the OKRs and the things in which the team will do. Nothing is worse than having a leadership role and not being empowered in the ability to think about how you're going to do the things that are asked of you. So having someone tell you, you need to do it like this, it takes away your creativity. It actually can bring out the worst parts of yourself, because you're not doing something which is naturally a talent for you, or perhaps it's even going against you as a personality or a person. And in the end, it can bring you down. It can make you less inspiring to those in which you're leading in your teams. If you want to ensure that your leader thrives, you need to be able to step back and think about, what are the results that I want? What do I want to get out of this team? Is it a goal to deliver more value to the end customer? Is the goal to increase your marketing initiative? What's your goal? And then don't assume that your leader is going to have the same goal. You need to have a conversation. You need to talk about it and agree, actually have a handshake. Perhaps they have a bit of a different idea of what they would like to get out of the team. Once you have agreed on this boundary, on this way of moving forward, what is great is now you can step back and you can allow that leader to use their superpowers, the things that they are great at, the things of their personality which make them unique and special, and help them bring the team to that place in which will deliver what you need on that boundary. When you're having a conversation about what you expect, it's good to be clear. If you expect that this year you want to have 10% increase in revenue, then state that and allow that leader to take ownership of that 10% revenue. Perhaps that leader is going to decide that the best way to get to that revenue is to have some unbillable people on the team, people which are catalysts, people which bring out the best in the other set of members of the team that are maybe not billable, for example. It may seem confusing that they're choosing to do it this way. Maybe your way is to make sure everyone is fully billable to get the most revenue. However, if you don't allow for this creative process for this leader to use their superpowers and how they intend to bring this revenue, most likely it will flop, it will fail, and that leader will not feel like that they're behind it. So this is what I wanted to say on the third thing in which you can do to empower leaders in your teams. Make sure to set clear boundaries around what you expect from them and the teams that they work with. Make sure to have a handshake on that. Allow a little bit of push and pull. And then after that, give them the freedom to work within those boundaries to deliver those results which you are expecting of them. If you have any questions around this, feel free to add a question to Slido. The fourth thing, I like to refer to the Braving framework. This is developed actually by Brené Brown. She's one of my heroes. So very often I will refer to some elements of her. Braving came from her books around vulnerability and daring to lead others. She talks a lot about these topics. Braving in itself is an acronym which stands for boundaries, reliability, accountability, the vault, which is about keeping things confidential, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. And you may ask, why do I bring up braving? Braving is what Brené Brown has identified as all of the elements required for creating trust. Trust is something you need in order to have any relationship thriving. This is not just leaders leading leaders, but also leaders leading teams. If trust is missing, then there's no way to move forward. So if you are leading leaders, it's very important to take heed to all of these elements within trust. Boundaries were something we just mentioned before. Have you had a clear conversation around what you expect from them? Have they agreed to it? Has there been some kind of handshake in saying, yep, this is the right boundary? Have you asked your leader in your team what they value, what is important to them, what do they need to thrive? This will be part of their boundary and something in which you as their leader should also honor, especially if you want to cultivate leaders that will stay in your teams. Boundaries are important for everyone in order to thrive, in order to understand what is expected of them, but most importantly, in order to have autonomy. If you don't have boundaries, you can't have the space to move and the freedom within the boundaries to move around. And leaders need to have this freedom to shift their different strategies and think of different ways in inspiring their teams to move forward. Reliability. This is when you work on what does it mean to be reliable? Is it showing up on time to meetings? Is it delivering results, let's say once a month? So maybe you have some kind of system in which you present your results in. It's good to have the conversation because reliable to me may be different than reliable to you. And if you don't discuss this, you don't have a conversation around it, it could be that you as a leader of leaders are disappointed with the leader. And when you have your leader being disappointed of you, it's actually quite demotivating and hard to inspire and help others within your team to be able to move forward. Accountability. I find this thrown around a lot. You're not accountable. You're not taking ownership. Accountability, again, takes two sides. What do you want your leader to be responsible for? Are you giving them full ownership to make the decisions in order to make this happen? If you're not, it's very hard to be accountable for it. So that's why it's quite important to say, I want 10% increase in revenue. I want you to be accountable for this, but allowing that leader to decide on how they're going to bring that. What are they going to do to bring that? Then accountability can exist. You're giving them the ability to own the solution and therefore move toward what you expect from them. The vault, confidentiality. I've had to deal with this several times in my leadership career. I have a lot of close relationships with reports in my teams. Not just reports in my teams, also when I've been a Scrum coach or Scrum Master, you create relationships. And in these relationships, people trust you. They trust you with personal details of themselves. Maybe they are sharing things that it's been very hard for them to share. And it's very important for you as a leader to help them feel safe. Help them feel safe with what they have told you. If you are a leader of leaders and then saying, hey, just tell me everything in which everyone has told you, and if you're not honoring your leadership role, you're actually disabling that leader from being able to motivate a team to move forward. You're destroying the trust that that team can have with that leader. So there must be another way. There must be a way in which you can get that leader to work with you without asking that leader to dishonor the confidentiality agreements that that leader has with their reports. Also, it goes between you and your leader. If I'm sharing with you something personal, like, this is hard, I'm struggling with this team, I'm not feeling really good or safe in this room with other leaders, There's nothing worse than having that conversation that you had shared in a public space with other leaders because, oh, you're a leader, you can hack this. It also destroys trust. And when you destroy trust, it's very hard to function within that leadership team. Integrity, again, it goes back to values. If you do not allow your leaders to honor their own value systems, they can't move forward with integrity. And nothing is worse than having a leader in which you cannot trust and know how they're going to step forward because they are dishonoring their values all the time. You don't even know what their values are. If you want to cultivate resilient leaders, you need to allow them to have their own values. They're going to maybe be different than yours, and allow them to move forward with integrity towards those. Non-judgment, again, don't judge those in your teams. A lot of these leaders, they maybe have different ideas in how to do stuff. I know when I work with somebody which is an achiever type of leader, I can sometimes be a bit judgmental, like, oh, they're only thinking about the end goal, like that's not what's important. I'm a person that thinks about people. I'm a people type of person. They don't care about the people. If I go into the room with this kind of thought, I'm not allowing that person to thrive. And perhaps they have a great plan that can move that team forward. If you want to cultivate a prosperous environment, it's the same thing that you would do with your own engineers or people in your tech teams or normal teams. You have no judgment of their ideas. You allow them to be vulnerable and you listen to them with curiosity and try to seek understanding. Maybe there's something that you can learn from them. And last, generosity. Generosity is where you assume that the people you're working with are doing their best. They're making their best effort. Maybe they're not good at leading yet, but they're trying and they want to do better. And if you don't have this generosity with your team, including your leadership team, they will most likely lose trust. They will feel demotivated and at some point want to leave. So this one was quite a long chapter. It's all about trust. Trust is quite an important topic. Without trust, I don't believe you can cultivate this empowering leadership team that you aspire to cultivate. If you have any questions around this, please add it to Slido. Okay, the last topic that I'm going to talk about today, it's about worthy goals. What are worthy goals? Worthy goals are all about how significant something is, how stimulating it is, and how stretching it is. I like to lean on the idea of the ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese concept. It means a reason for being. When people don't feel like they're doing something in which they love, that they're also good at, that the world needs, in which they get paid for, something usually happens within them that doesn't create this stimulation that makes them want to achieve or even have the ability to achieve. It can disable them from moving forward. Depending on which part of the ikigai that you lean on, you may feel uncertain. You may feel like you don't have the right skills if you're not doing something that you feel really good at, even if you're paid for it and the world needs it. If you're not doing something that you love, you may feel that you're comfortable, you're getting paid, but maybe you feel complacent. You don't feel motivated. You don't feel energy in what you do. Now, if you lean more towards doing something you love, but it's not something in which you get paid for, you could also feel slightly useless. You may feel that that you have delight in it, but you're poor and you're unable to pay for the things that you want to do or that you need in your life, and therefore may feel, destitute or sad. So when I work with my own teams, what I try to do is to look within them. It's important to figure out what they're good at. So, what are their secret powers? Do they have a lot of empathy? Are they really good at engaging with lots of people? Perhaps they're really good at making lists and they get excited about making lists. Maybe they're really good at organizing, or they like social media or something like this. It's important to figure out, even if they are engineers in the past or they worked in data analytics or something like this, what are their passions that are underneath there? Maybe they are an artist, a creative type, yet they became an engineer. Once you figure out what they love to do, it's about bringing it into what they do at work and what is needed in the organization. So you have this little circle there that I have in the screen where it has mastery, play as a team, autonomy, keep on learning, thinking with the customer. This is a way of allowing people within your team to create different types of impact towards the organization, depending on where their skills are and where their passions lie. I have met engineers that were awesome at mastery. They were tech leads, they were detailed about all of the techie stuff, but they didn't have that much to do with, let's say, playing as a team. They definitely wouldn't be the best scrum master. Maybe they weren't very social. I've also had engineers that were amazing at connecting people. Maybe they weren't as interested in diving deep and getting to know all the tech details of every single framework. However, by being in the team, the rest of the team functioned better because they connect people, they inspire people, they push them through different things. You also have those engineers which are understanding business value in everything they do. They don't just think I'm writing this code, but how can the customer benefit? Will this bring in new market? Is this something that the customer needs? Perhaps this particular person has a certain kind of empathy and they can think about things which a customer would need, which another kind of engineer would not think of. Your job as a leader is finding these talents and making sure that they can make impact and increase this impact, not just impact by taking a course, but bringing it to their team, to their domain, their product, maybe the whole organization, beyond just writing code or doing your day job in marketing. When you do this, you light your team on fire. They are stimulated. They are excited. This brings out better results. So when we go back to worthy goals, it's about, is it stimulating, but also, is it significant? Is it something which I can create impact beyond just myself? I, even as a young engineer, would sometimes get involved in initiatives where I would help design a logo or organize an event, or sometimes I would even start an initiative like changing how goals were organized within the organization. And because these things excited me, it made me better at what I did. It was beyond myself. I was making impact in my organization. I was excited about it. And therefore, I was able to bring more where I was working. And the last part of worthy goals, it's about stretching. Stretching doesn't mean pulling you so thin that you break. Stretching is just that healthy pressure that you get, where you're stretching your muscles and it kind of feels good, but it's not tearing. You want to be able to do that with the people in your team. And now we're talking about leaders of leaders. What is it about your leader that you are leading that inspires them, that gives them energy, a talent that they have that maybe they don't get to utilize and use every day? And how are you going to appreciate this talent and allow them to impact the greater organization using this talent? And how are you going to spark with them ideas and how to stretch it without breaking them? This is one of the best ways to keep your leaders in your teams happy and also motivating, because they inspire the rest of the organization to move forward. You don't want a lot of leaders in there that are not happy and not inspired, because these people are the ones that are holding the compass for the rest of your organization to move forward. You don't want to follow someone which feels half dead and unexcited and uninspired. So that was the last topic for today. I will stop sharing my screen, or maybe I can continue to share it. Wait a minute. There we go. I'll continue to share it in case you want to reflect on something there. Why don't you take a few moments and add questions to Slido, and then we can have a discussion. I will wait until 40 after and take a look at Slido. Great. So I will just go through the questions that are here. And before I answer each question, so I'll read out the question and I'll give you, the audience, the opportunity to contribute to the answer. Maybe you have an idea of how you would answer it. So by doing that, raise your hand and I will call out your name in order. And at the end, when we have exhausted the topic, I will give my opinion, what I think is a good answer for the question. So one of the questions that I see here is, what is the best way to present importance of proper leadership development and empowerment to a stagnant company? What is the best way to present importance of proper leadership development and empowerment to a stagnant company? So does someone have something they would like to add to that question as an answer? Any ideas in the room?
Can you repeat the question because it's not on Slido for me?
Yeah, sure. What is the best way to present the importance of proper leadership, development, and empowerment to a stagnant company? So how would you present that? Any ideas, Anna? No? No one here has any ideas? Then I will take a shot at it. The best way to present to any leadership team. So I would say whenever you're trying to talk with business, you need to talk about what they care about. So what do they value? Therefore, it's not a blanket answer. Very much depends on the organization you work for. So is it a company that values making a lot of money? Do they want to grow their customer base, trying to increase the market? Do they want to be the innovation leaders on new tech? Are they seeking to transform the developer experience because they want to, for example, they just became a B Corp, and it's quite important that they demonstrate how they are changing the world in a positive way. So first, find out, what does the company value? Second, what statistics will you use to show that what they want to get is something that they don't have now? So let's say the company values money. It would be important to show them that by not doing this thing that you want done, they will have less money in the long run. If they do it, they will have more money. Let's say it has to do with being the most innovative corporation. Again, you need to have numbers and statistics which will prove to them by doing this action, they will get more innovation. So now we go to the second part of proper leadership development. What does proper leadership development bring? In the first case, how does proper leadership development ensure that an organization will have more money if your company values money? Use the right statistics. How much does leader development cost? How much do the courses cost? How much does it cost when people in your teams leave? How much does it cost to hire new employees because people in your teams have left? How much can a company gain when the power of their teams has increased? So they are more empowered, they deliver better results. Maybe they take less sick leave. They are doing more work because they're using their talents. Maybe some of it is not a fact that you can look up, but nothing is stopping you from creating a mind chart or some kind of diagram to show, this is my prediction. I predict that if you invest in leadership, less people will leave the team. We will have to spend less on hiring. People will be doing what they are talented at, so they will do better work. And therefore, we will not need as much, let's say, employees doing something which are not that good at it or excited about it. We will need less people working on it, and we'll be able to deliver better results. So talk in the language in which that company speaks. If you try to come forward with a argument about money and the company doesn't value money, they value environmental impact, it's not going to sit on their ears. So you need to be able to translate it to what is important to them. Sana.
Is it also an idea to make sure that you have like a time framework wherein you can prove that the results you're claiming or predicting when they can be shown or something?
Yeah, that's usually a way that I've convinced any leader to allow me to try any initiative, is I talk about it in experimentation. How much is this experiment going to cost? And when can we see the first results? And at what point do we decide that it's a failed experiment and we will pull the plug? It's a lot easier to make a decision when you know what the, let's say, the final risk will be or the cost will be, and when they can expect results, when can we have the next conversation. The more data you have, the clearer a plan. It really speaks to management. They feel like, okay, you're going to take charge of this. I don't have to do anything. That's always great. You're not putting something on my already too long to-do list, and you are going to make sure that the experiment is running, that we have a stopping point, and that there's results that you can deliver to me, and maybe some kind of presentation or something like this, so that I can present it to the board. Very often when I would lead engineers, I would ask them, share with me the results you're making. It makes it easier for me to speak up for you when I'm trying to get you that promotion. It's the same when you are working with leaders. How can you make it easier for them, their job, so that they can ask for the right policies so that you can get that education that you need? Anything else about this question? So we can move on to the next question. This one maybe I can answer directly because it's really specific to the Enneagram that I shared before. Is the Enneagram a type of self-assessment tool? I was introduced to the Enneagram in leadership courses. So I have taken a lot of leadership courses over a couple of years, if you add all of the leadership courses I've taken. And Enneagram was something that came up many times. So it's a method which is used by a lot of leadership organizations. And one of the reasons it's a method that works well is that there is no good or bad archetype. Every type has its value. Also, every type can be toxic, and every type can level up. It's also not what do you call, you have many options in being able to lean into other types, and actually in the end create the personality profile that really matches to your core. It's not something that you simply take a test and assess. They actually suggest even not to do that. It's really about self-analyzing and feeling this, knowing, yeah, this is who I am. And there's real concrete methods and that they have to help you level up, but also because it's been used in leadership for a long time, they have real concrete methods and what kind of leadership styles work best for each Enneagram type. So it's just a method, and it's not the only method. I worked in organizations that have used the colors, what's it called, insights, where you have green and orange and red and blue, these different colors. If you're a red leader, you're more directive. If you're a blue leader, you like process. There's also the model, which is what INJF or something like this. What I found is the model is not that important. What's important is that you have the discussion and that you reflect on who you are. Like, what part resonates with me and what part doesn't, because it helps you in figuring out what to do next. Any more questions about that? The next question, what is the best method to identify leadership style of myself and others? Well, I give a leadership course. Actually, Sana here has taken the leadership course, and Sandra, you have also taken the leadership course, if I know correct, a long time ago. It takes 6 sessions, 3.5 hours, plus homework for my class to get a feeling of what exists in their core, who they are actually as a leader. The next 6 sessions is about making movement and making progress and having the tools and how to bring your teams forward, setting worthy goals and all of those things. So what is the best way to identify? It's not a quick fix. You may think that you can just take some quiz or read a book once. It takes a lot of conversations, a lot of digging deep, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of figuring out the different layers of your personality. It really takes, bye, Eugene. It really takes a lot to figure out the leadership style in which you have. As a starting point, I would say I suggest taking a look at the different leadership styles and asking yourself, does this feel cozy? I know that out of the leadership styles, I can be a leader that coaches, but I also can be a democratic leader. They don't feel like they go against my value system. They match my core in the way that if I would lead like that, I wouldn't feel like I'm doing something against my thriving. So you can make a list of the different types of styles, there's visionaries, etc., and think about how would it feel for me to act like this? And that's a good starting point.